Welcome to another episode of Unplugged with Pam, Breakfast Club Edition. My name is Pamela Pacheco, aka Pam the Plug. And as always, I am so excited, grateful, honored, and blessed to be your host each and every single Thursday. Welcome back. Welcome back. If you're just joining us for the first time, welcome. If you're joining us once again, welcome home. I remember when I first embarked upon entrepreneurship, I was looking forward to these type of morning mentorship sessions, not only for the information, but for the inspiration. How you start your day sets the tone for your day. So kudos to each and every single one of you guys that is tuning in to start your morning off with some fuego, with some fire this morning. Welcome. And when we talk about Unplugged with Pam, brought to you by Chosen Global, our Breakfast Club edition, and any Unplugged with Pam session, we are not just talking about growth, we are actually walking in it. And this is not just a call, this is a room, the room that you need to be in before the rooms that you want to be in. And today, I really needed this conversation. As I was preparing for this, I said, you know what? Last week we kind of went into it a little bit, but I want to talk to you about you are your superpower. And if you're taking notes, I'm going to let you do that because note takers are history makers. Yes. I love it. Absolutely. Type in an L if you're watching live, type an R if you're watching replay. You guys can always tune in to the replays of these calls on all streaming platforms, from YouTube to Spotify to LinkedIn to Facebook, you name it, we're on there. So let's get right into it. And when I say that we are living in one of the biggest shifts in our lifetime, we watched so many things change the game. We watched the internet change industries, change people's lives. Yes. We watched social media not only change communication, but we actually watched it change businesses, change identities, change so many things. And now we are currently in this AI bubble, and we're watching AI change not only how people build, how we market, how we create, and how we connect. And here's what I do know. I mentioned this briefly last week. Every major shift creates two groups of people: the people who adapt and learn and implement, and the people who watch. Yes, insert loud sigh here. Why? Because the people who watch, it's not so much that they just are not able to learn. It's not so much that they're unable to adapt. They just chose to sit back and watch and do nothing. And that is okay. However, the people tuned into this call is not the watchers, right? It's the doers, it's the listeners, it's the go-getters. And you don't want to miss this one, because what's going on right now, this is not hype. This is transformation. And here really is what's very fascinating to me, because the more technology advances, the more valuable humanity becomes. Why? I think so many people are missing this right now. AI, I love it because it automates content. It can write captions. It can generate strategies. It can replicate information. It can make life and business so much more simple. However, your uniqueness becomes more valuable. Your perspective, your lived experience, your discernment, your story, and your voice. And why do I say that this is the differentiator now? Because you are the differentiator. I had a session with a few mentees, or multiple sessions obviously this week, but one of them that stuck out to me, this person was talking and they're like, man, this is so saturated. Everybody is doing X. Everybody is doing Y. Everybody is doing this. And I said, you know what? That may be true, But here's what's not saturated. It is you, because you are one of one. So a lot of people right now, they're struggling so much because they're spending so much time trying to make themselves marketable, and they've disconnected from the very thing that makes them powerful, themselves. Yes, you, tú mismo. Yes. Why? I see so many people trying to sound like everyone else. They're trying to look like everyone else. They're trying to copy everyone else. Meanwhile, the one thing that actually builds connection with your audience and with people, period, is authenticity. Not performative authenticity. Hear me closely. Real alignment. Why? Because people want the real. People want the transparency. People want the vulnerability. And if I'm being honest with you, there's a season where I struggled with that too. I was doing my best to find my voice, especially transitioning from corporate America, because, I grew up urban community, and you talk like you're supposed to talk like this. And, my mother, of course, put me through etiquette and all of these things. And when you are having military training and educational training and all of these things and personal development, and you hear people talk like this, and you're like, man, am I supposed to sound like them? Because I want to sound proper. But no, you need to sound like you. And here's what I realized. I was thinking that success was supposed to look like this because this is what I read, this is what I experienced. And the more that I disconnected, I became further and further from my voice. But the more that I disconnected from their expectation or that preconceived notion, the less impactful my message became. But that moment that I said, you know what, I'm going to lean in to who I actually am, everything shifted. Not because I became perfect, but because I became clear. And clarity changes absolutely every single thing. So when we talk about clarity changes everything, in building a story brand, one of my favorite books, Donald Miller talks about how confused people don't buy. And that principle applies to more than just business. It's everything in your life. Why? Because confused people, they don't connect either. So if you're seeing, okay, people cannot clearly understand who you are, what you stand for, they don't know what you bring into the room, they don't know how you help, they don't know how they can trust you with your subject matter, for that much, anything that you're truly an expert in, or the value that you're able to bring. Why? Because clarity is what's always going to create connection with people. And this is why building your personal brand matters more right now than ever before. And I'm all for people building businesses. I'm all for people building their dreams. I'm all for people going after it. But if you do not understand that you've got to build your personal brand, and understand this, not because branding is vanity, but because branding is perception. Another book that I had finished recently, The Branding Gap by Marty Neumeier, it explains that a brand is not what you say about yourself. It's what people remember and feel about you. Because branding is who you are and marketing is how you tell that story. Think about that. Your brand is speaking already before you ever enter the room. How? Because your consistency speaks, your presence speaks, your communication speaks, and your energy speaks. Your brand walks into rooms before you do. And honestly, a lot of you are underestimating how powerful your story actually is. And I think about, because I'm like, man, every time I have a conversation, whether I have a conversation with business peers, whether I have a conversation with clients, whether I have a conversation with mentees, I'm like, it's all the same. It all comes down to that. For you to, everybody thinks, oh, there's this, and there's never a lack of resources. It's only a lack of resourcefulness, because I know it's an abundance out there. It's an abundance all around. But the thing that people are failing to realize, and it took me a while to realize, is that we underestimate how powerful your story actually is. The thing that you've been insecure about, oh, the struggle that you survived. I'm telling you, I know it took me a long time to open up about it, to be able to talk about it. The pivot you made, oh, that was a tough one. The comeback that you fought through, that thing that you think was trying to break you, that may actually end up being your breakthrough. That thing might actually be the thing that makes you unforgettable. Because people, we connect with people. We don't connect with perfection. And in a world that's becoming more automated every single day, and don't get me wrong, I use AI, human connection, it's premium. High tech will never replace high touch. And that's why some of us need to stop hiding. We need to stop waiting until everything is perfect. We need to stop waiting until you feel fully qualified. You already are born that way. You need to stop waiting until you have the perfect setup, until you have the perfect strategy, until you have the perfect camera, until you have the perfect body, until you have the perfect tonality of your voice, until you have the perfect confidence level, until you have the perfect body, until you have the perfect hair, until you have and I can keep going on and on and on. Why? You've heard me say this a lot over and over and over again. Visibility creates opportunity, but visibility also creates access. It creates trust. It creates income. Above all, it creates impact. You cannot impact people who cannot find you. And I want to say this carefully because I think it's important. Your visibility is not vanity when it's rooted in purpose. I'm going to say it louder for the people in the back. Your visibility is not vanity when it is rooted in purpose. Why do I say that? Because I think some people associate visibility with ego, when in reality, visibility can be looked at stewardship. Because how many people are waiting for the solution that's already inside of you? How many people need your story? How many people need your perspective? How many people need your wisdom? How many people need your leadership? How many people need you to show up so that they can show up too? The Bible, one of my favorite books, y'all know that, if not the favorite book, Proverbs 18:16. You guys hear me all the time. A man's gifts make room for him and brings him before great men. Your gifts will always make room for you. Not shrinking, not hiding, not doubting yourself into silence. Your gifts, not your neighbor's gifts, not your mama's gifts, even though you're a continuation of legacy, not your dad's, not your gifts. So, and it's not to, impose my belief or faith upon you, because I'm not here to do that, but this is what I believe in, right? So if In Matthew 5, it says, you are the light of the world. The city set on a hill cannot be hidden. You know why that scripture to me is so powerful? Because light was never designed to hide itself. Light was supposed to illuminate. Light guides us. Light reveals direction. You were never meant to play small. So if we know we're created in the image and likeness of God, which means creativity is in your DNA, vision is in your DNA, innovation is in your DNA, power is in your DNA. This is all part of our inheritance. We were designed to create. We were designed to build. We were designed to lead. We were designed to influence. You're not here by accident. And maybe I believe that that's part of the deeper issue right now, because some of us have consumed so much content that we've forgotten our own voice. We've watched so many people. We've attended so many personal development events. We've read so many books, listened to so many podcasts, listened to so many audiobooks that somewhere along the line, you stop trusting yourself. But if you don't get anything from this call today, let me remind you of something. You are your superpower. Not the algorithm, not the trends, not the app, not the business, not the industry. You. Your conviction, your energy, your perspective, your presence. That's, my dear friends, is what people connect to. Because think about this. You develop the skills. You learn the marketing. You learn the communication. You learn the branding. You learn the verbiage. You learn the strategy. You learned everything that you were supposed to. Yes, but don't lose yourself trying to become more acceptable. One of the greatest things that my branding coach told me 6 years ago was, Pam, you cannot sound like it ain't you. Bring that Latina sazon. Bring that fire. You can't. Yes, you can sound proper. Yes, you can sound educated. You got a master's degree. Sound how you sound. But you don't got to take away from being you. People need you. I was like, yeah, but I don't want to talk about this because if I sound like this, it is no. Don't lose yourself trying to become more acceptable, because authenticity is going to scale in ways that performance never will. And we've already seen what happens when people miss major shifts. People underestimated the internet. They underestimated the computers before that. They underestimated the telephones, right? They underestimated social media. People to this day are laughing at creators making billions of dollars. It's crazy to me. People ignored digital branding. And now the same thing is happening with AI and personal branding. But the people who are adapting early become the people who lead later. So if you don't take anything else away from today, take this. Your uniqueness is your leverage. Your story is part of your strategy, and your brand creates opportunities before you arrive. High tech will never replace high touch, and your gifts will always make room for you. So stop hiding, stop overthinking, stop waiting until you feel perfect, because the truth of the matter is you're never going to feel all the way ready. But feel the fear and do it anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway. When I say your story is a part of the strategy, man, I remember I was terrified. I was so terrified to don't judge me. I know I grabbed my mug like that, okay? I remember I was just terrified to talk about certain aspects of my journey. And I'll tell you, one of them in particular was my mom, because I could not talk about her without crying. I could not talk. And that's why I was like, I have to go to therapy. I have to be able to let this out. I have to take the tools and the resources. And as much as I love working, because a lot of times you are just working. But I realized too that working became something that I was just performing. I just wanted to keep going and going because the more that I worked, the more that I performed, the less I had to feel. The more productivity I was, the less I had to be present with my emotions, with the things that I was feeling. And I realized that the moment I just gave myself permission to breathe, the moment I just gave myself permission to relax, the moment that I just gave myself permission to feel, the moment I gave myself permission to heal, and you can't ever heal what you don't reveal, right? Shout out to Hove. Some of y'all will get that on the way out. It's okay. The moment that I was able to do that, I was able to give myself the permission to say, hey, you don't have to be perfect. You don't. But the moment that I started sharing that story, I started giving people hope that were navigating through the same thing. And every so often, someone I love loses a loved one. And the only reason, I promise you this, the only reason God allows us to go through certain things is so that we can serve other people. It's so that we can help other people. So when I say your gifts make room for you, it's not just the beautiful parts of your story. It's the parts that you don't care to share. It's the trauma of your story. It's the pain of your story, because he allows us to turn that pain into purpose and power every single day. Every single day. And I'm not telling you that you need to go live every day or every week or whatever. No. But DM me brands. Let's chat. I don't know what that looks like for you, but I know that it doesn't look like you hiding anymore. That's not what's going to be conducive to what it is that you need to do and where it is that you want to go, and the empire you want to build, and the business you want to build, and the impact that you want to make, and the legacy that you want to leave behind, and the impact, right? Because that's really what it's all about. And when I say that, your gifts are going to make room for you, stop hiding, stop overthinking. You don't need to wait until you feel perfect. The world does not need another copy. They need you. They need you to show up like you are, because you are the differentiator. You are your superpower. And if you are ready to stop playing small and you want to build a brand with purpose, with strategy, with visibility, with impact, DM me brand, book a strategy call, and let's build this the right way, because visibility is great. But impact, that is legacy. As always, it is a pleasure, honor, and privilege to serve you guys. Blessings on blessings. Breakfast is served. I'll see you guys soon. Take care. God bless.